Okay, hello everybody, and today we're going to be looking at an interesting piece of software called Pidgel. I wouldn't call it software in a traditional sense, but it is what it is literally. Um, Pidgel is pretty much a version control system. As you all know, and as you might be familiar with, Git. So Pidgel is an alternative for Git, and it is based off on the DAX system, which is also an alternative for Git, which does things a little different. So Pidgel is pretty much based on a mathematical theory, and Pidgel works using something called changes, or in other words, how they like to call it, patches, whereby Git deals with snapshots or versions. And if you don't know much about Git, I have a video on my channel which talks a little bit about Git and just how to get started with it. But today we're going to be looking at Pidgel, and we're just going to figure out how to integrate on this. From my findings so far, I haven't used Pidgel before. This is going to be my first time. I don't know how to use it. I've never used it before. I've never installed it. This is going to be pretty much a hands-on experience here, and mistakes and everything that I'm going to make, you guys will also be experiencing directly from the video too. So from my study so far, my research into this, it seems like Pidgel is created based on DAX. So I am guessing that there's going to be some sort of similarities between Pidgel and DAX. So it should be really easy for them. As shown here, it's mostly formally correct version of DAX theory of changes and a new algorithm for merging changes. So I guess the difference between Pidgel and DAX would be in terms of merging. Obviously, this is not a statement that I can call absolute, but I believe there should be a layer of correctness to it. So, without further ado, let's actually get started with it, and we want to install this. So now you need to know that Pidgel can be compiled using Rust language manager, right? Or Rust language package manager, rather, cargo. So you would need to download Rust up from here to install cargo. So if you do not have Rust up on your device already, you want to just visit, I'm going to just close this, you want to visit the link here, and you want to copy this command. You want to go to your terminal, you want to just paste this here, and you want to do this. So what's going to happen is that it's going to pass in this and everything. So as you can see, I already have an installation of Rust on my system, so this is going to be unnecessary for me to do. So you just follow through with the commands, or follow through with the prompts that it gives you, and you should have Rust up on your system. After you have that on your system, all you want to do is pretty much call Rust up. So you're just going to type in Rust up. And then when you do that, you're going to see the commands to use. Then you want to obviously choose which command is going to help you. In this case here, what I want to do, or what I would recommend that you do, is to, I'm just going to close this, is to run rustop default stable, right? So this is going to install the default, or rather the current stable version of Rust on your system and its tooling, not just Rust itself in terms of the language, but all the tools associated with Rust. So this is also going to bring for you cargo and the likes and every other thing. So as you can see here, if you are on Linux, you want to run a couple of these other commands and everything, but we do not need to have that. So we're just going to run this command here, which is cargo install Pidgel, and then we're going to pass in the version. So we're going to say cargo install Pidgel, right? Cargo install Pidgel, and then version, we're going to pass in the version, and then the version here is going to be in quotes, right? So I notice in quotes, and then we're going to do this, and then it's going to be 1.0.0 beta. So 1.0.0 beta. And then yes, we're just gonna click on install, and then let's see if this works. Hopefully this works straight up without any problems. Just unplugged my charger, so I'm just gonna increase the brightness a little bit. So we have a couple of installation happening here. So while that's going, we're just gonna look for what we need to do. You might need to add the install directory to your path environment variable. For example, adding the following to your this here. This is an interesting thing. I'm gonna just type in for Mac. Is there any Mac? There is no Mac. Is Pidgel strictly for interesting? Is there a possibility that we do not have this here? I know that we can do this. We can install this, which I am guessing are some packages required to have all this, but I also assume that cargo install Pidgel should run this just fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave this there. Let me check something real quick. And this is an interesting thing you can do. Whenever you see all this installation with all these files here, you can always just do a Google search and see if this is available on the operating system that you're working on. So I'm just gonna say this on Mac. Okay, as you can see, it's here on Mac. And now that we have AI, you can easily just get the answer. But you can see here that this is here on Mac. And great, so this means that the commands that we are running from brew install this should most likely work on a MacBook without any problems. So in order not to delay the video or extend it too long, I'm just gonna pause the video here, and then I'm gonna continue once the installations are done. Okay, great. So the installation of Pidgel has been completed, and as you can see here, we have the version 1.0.0 beta 0.20 installed on our machine, which is great. So now what we want to do is say getting started. So in order for us to start a project with Pidgel, we want to do this. So in this case here, I'm just going to make things easy. I'm going to just create a folder called Pidgel, because I like creating folders. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just instantiate Next.js application, right? Okay, so I need to go into Pidgel and then instantiate that. So I'm going to say use recommended settings, but in this case here I'm going to be removing something, right? So this is I was studying Go previously, but I'm just gonna quit this in this case here, and then I'm gonna open this up in the code editor, and then I'm gonna just trust this, and then I'm gonna delete everything that has to do. So I'm just gonna delete Git. I don't need Git, and I definitely do not need Git ignore, but I'm just gonna have that there for the meantime. So the code says here that we want to do Pidgel init, right? So we're gonna just do that in this place here. So repository created here at Pidgel init, and it says that in order to add a few files to track, we use Pidgel add, right? So in this case here, I'm just gonna do ls, and then I'm just gonna say Pidgel add agents.md. So we've tracked one file, and it says before recording, new users will need to generate a key using Pidgel key generate name. Users can read more about keys in the manual section on identities. Let's look at that a little bit. Not found, which is definitely worrying. I would assume that a project like this will have the documentation fully set out. But I mean, if you're a dev, you've definitely dealt with documentation like this. We're gonna figure it out, and then we're just gonna do pidgin key generates. I'm gonna say pidgin key generates, and then I'm gonna just call this initial. Okay, so it seems like there's a problem. It does not allow me to do that. So pidgin key, and then I'm gonna do help. So in order to do pidgin key, we need to do identity. Interesting. So we need to create a new identity, but what we need is a key. So I'm just gonna do pidgin dash help and see if the key it's still here. So we don't have the key anymore, which already means that this documentation is already very, very outdated. So I'm guessing what we need to do here is the identity. So we're just gonna do the pidgin identity slash help, and then we're gonna do here slash new, and then we're gonna have that, and then we're gonna do pidgin record. It's gonna be a pidgin record. So it shows us these files here. We have the author, we have the dependencies, we have the hunks, which is the file, the agent.md that we created, and then it says has breaking changes and everything. So, and then if you can add and record files in a single record command, for example, importing all the files in a directly named D is done with this. Okay, interesting. So if we had, let's say, an app folder with the Next.js, we would just do pidgin record app. Okay, this is interesting. If you need to check what parts of repositories are unrecorded, you can use this. But for now, I think what we want to do is Control O, I believe, and then enter, and then Control X. Okay, so now that pidgin is installed and working on your system, you can set your username, full name, and email address, so you don't have to set it each time you want to record a change. You can put this information into one of several places. The one you probably want is this, and then this, right? So we're gonna see if this exists. So I'm just gonna say, okay, so we do not have anything like that. So there's no pidgin config the last time I check here. Okay, so what we're gonna do, since we know this, is that we're gonna make a folder called this, and then we want to create something called config.toml file in that folder. So we want to cd, but before I cd into that, I'm just going to create this here, and then I'm going to cd into the folder I just created, and then I'm going to create a file called config.toml, and then here I'm going to just do we have nano on Mac? Okay, I'm just going to do nano.config.toml, and then I'm going to just paste in all this, and then here I'm going to just start changing my name. The outer rocks, I do not know if this allows, I'm just going to assume that this does not allow for caps. I'm going to just put my name here as Emmanuel, and then I'm going to put an email here, just a random email, random@gmail.com, and then I'm going to just save this, and then I'm going to exit from here. I'm going to say no. Okay, we have that done. Beautiful, beautiful. So now what we want to do is want to do pidgin record, and now let's record a new file. All right, let's do pidgin record, and we want to record a new file. I'm just going to say the claw.md, and then I'm going to just do Control O and then Control X, and then we want to do this. Okay, we've done all this. Pidgin identities. What are identities in Pidgin? Are used to identify patch authors in a manner which provides greater security and control than simply mapping authors to a name and email address. The inclusion of a name and email can be spoofed in a way that a key signature cannot. In addition, Pidgin plans to take advantage of the fact that a user's name and email address are no longer tied to their submitted patches, allowing users to later change the name and email address that others users see when they look at previously submitted patches. Interesting. So we already did this. Great. I don't think this asked us for all this information. Which is an interesting thing. We're gonna try something just now. Since initially when we created this, we had this here. I'm gonna do identity proof, and then I'm gonna do what identity did I use in the previous session. I know I used was it testing or was it staging? What did I use? What did I use? What did I use? I'm just gonna say testing at gmail.com. Let's see what we get. It seems this does not work fully well, which is interesting. Or am I doing something wrong? I guess I would have to do a little bit more of a research into this, but right now it's just confusing. Why would I want to use Pidgin over another tool? Is a question that I have to ask. And if we have Git, okay, it seems like we have something called Nest Pidgin. Interesting. So this is where you see your repositories on something called Nest. All right. So I'm gonna be ending the video here, but I will be doing some research after this, and I'm gonna be coming back with a part 2. And then in the part 2, hopefully there'll be a little bit more understanding on Pidgin, how to utilize this, how we can create, commits or rather changes, and pretty much just view all these, deploy some folders, see how this works, make some merges, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much for being here. Do like and leave a comment, leave questions if you have things to say, and if you already know how to use Pidgin, please drop for me any additional pointers that you have in the comment section. It will be really helpful for me. Thank you.